Hi, guys. I'm just waiting for more people to show up before I get started, but welcome, welcome, welcome. Who's here? Say hello. Okay. So, how is everybody doing now that we're getting ready for Uranus to leave Aries? It's been quite a ride, right? I mean, Uranus and Aries has completely changed so many lives. And I know all of you have been affected in some way. Whether or not you're an Aries, whether or not you have Aries rising, doesn't make a difference. Uranus was touring a specific area of your chart. And so now we have a massive change that we're dealing with in the sky and in your psyche. And I wanted to talk a little bit about it and share my thoughts and my personal reflection on what is going to happen next for you, me, all of us. Okay, so first, Uranus in Aries. Let's talk about this. With Uranus in Aries since March of 2011, what's been happening has everything to do with this urge to individuate, this urge to assert and be who you are. Okay. And all of us, in various ways, depending on where Uranus has been transiting in your chart, have had this rebellion. You've had this kind of, impulsive, childlike tantrum over the last several years to really assert yourself in a specific way. And Uranus in Aries was volatile during a lot of the time that it was in Aries. Uranus in Aries was not a quiet energy, not by any means for anyone. And so I'm not seeing the comments. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know if you're commenting. I'm not ignoring you. Um, okay. Can somebody say something so that I can make sure the comments are working? Because I want this to be interactive. Okay. So with Uranus moving through Aries, I think, all of us have been just energized, invigorated in in a way where we just wanted to be who we are, who we think we are, right? And you've all done this. It doesn't come without consequences, okay? And that's what I want to talk about today. Yes, we've all achieved something incredible over the last 8 years as we have moved towards that greater sense of self and being true to ourselves. But Uranus in Aries was an impulsive energy. And now we're going to start to understand that we've got to do something with who we have shown the world we are. Okay. So, whoever you have asserted yourself to be over these last several years in that amazing, independent way, now the sky is changing. Uranus is going to go into Taurus on March 6th. And I'm going to talk about that energy separately. And that's basically going to be the what do you do with your Uranus and Aries story. But there's another energy in the sky that is adding to this, and it's Chiron. So, Chiron, for those of you who don't know, is an asteroid that orbits between Saturn and Uranus. And Chiron moved into Aries the first time in almost 50 years on February 18th. Chiron's going to stay in Aries until April 14th of 2027. And Chiron calls our attention to our wounds and to where we are wounded. And so again, guys, there's a lot of you coming on the chat now. And can somebody comment? I am not seeing any comments, and I don't know if it's me or you. So I'm just typing something. Okay. I just saw what I typed. So if anybody could just say something so that I know I could see you, because I will be taking questions and I want this to be interactive. Hello. Thank you, Blueprint to Success. Okay. Now I know the comments are working. That was stressing me out. All right. So back to Chiron. So Chiron moved into Aries like 5 minutes ago, basically, on the 18th. Okay. And we'll stay there until 2027. Chiron is in Aries is so different from Uranus in Aries. And what we're coming off of is this incredible high that we've been on for years. That's been like, I'm going to do me. I don't care what you say. I'm going to be who I am, and I'm going to assert my identity, and I'm not going to apologize for it. And if you don't like it, screw you. Okay. That's Uranus and Aries. And you've all done that in some way in your life. But now what's taking over in the realm of Aries, which is all about identity and the self, the development of the self, now it's a Chiron energy. Very different feel. Okay. Chiron in Aries is the wound of the self that has to be healed, the wound of your identity that you're being challenged to heal. Chiron in Aries talks about where you are ashamed and broken and inadequate. And it is directly connected to the sense of self in the sign of Aries. Okay. So instead of that brash, I'm going to be who I am and I don't care what you say, now it's dialing back. It's about to be dialed back. Okay. Once Uranus goes into Taurus and Chiron and Uranus actually leaves Aries on March 6th. So now the Chiron and Aries energy comes more to the forefront, and we're going to realize that there's a healing crisis connected to our identity, our sense of self. And part of that healing crisis collectively actually is coming from the fallout of Uranus being in Aries for all these years. If you have misused that energy, which is so easy for all of us to have done, because Uranus in Aries was no filter, no apologies, rushing in to do you and be you, and not caring about what it did to anybody else, not caring about what your actions resulted in. Okay, that was Uranus in Aries. And that's what it was supposed to be. That was what it was supposed to be. Now, Chiron in Aries. And I'm talking about this from some personal experience too, because I have Chiron in Aries. And I have it exactly conjunct my ascendant. And it is ironically exactly opposite Uranus in my chart. So everything that I'm talking to you guys today about, Uranus and Chiron in Aries and the Chiron in Aries relationship to Uranus, it's something that I'm feeling very personally and I've been reflecting on. And I realize now that there's actually a collective implication as well. So that's why I wanted to have this conversation with you today. So now it's about learning to accept that it's okay to be you and not feel ashamed about it, not apologize for it. And the only way that you could really do that is first by recognizing the broken parts of you and your identity. And Chiron in Aries is meant to teach you how to do that. I'm just looking for I have some notes here, and I want to make sure that I don't miss anything I wanted to tell you. So we're going from this destructive personal rebellion to this personal responsibility now of getting over that core wound of being you. So you're going from literally, I don't give a shit what anybody thinks, this is who I am, take it or leave it, to, oh, wait, this is who I am. Do I have a right to be me? Wait, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this. Do I have a right to exist? Especially in this crazy self-individuated way? Do I have a right? That's what Chiron and Aries is doing. And it's almost going to be this a straitjacket against what Uranus and Aries did all those years. Okay? I don't know if I'm making sense. That's what it feels like. And in the beginning, it's going to feel like this straitjacket that everything that you tried to be and do, and now you're like, wait a second, maybe that was a little too impulsive. Maybe I jumped the gun and I was a little too crazy about all of this. And so Chiron and Aries is going to trigger the pain of being you. You went from not caring about what anybody else thought about being you to the pain of being you being triggered, and you're forced to look at it now, and you're forced to learn over the next several years how to show who you are regardless of that pain, and to do it responsibly and not erratically and not at the price of other people. And you're being called to reveal who you are with the broken parts of you. And I find that I do this a lot because I do have Chiron and Aries on the ascendant. So I show you the broken parts of me very freely. And that is the ticket to self-realization, is to recognize where you're broken and own the broken parts of you. And you have to like do that work, that shameful work of saying, I don't know. I don't know if this is, nice, this part of me. I'm afraid of it. I'm ashamed of it. It's ugly. It's this, it's that. And then continue to have the courage to be yourself. Okay. So there's a lot of like psychological debris that I'm feeling with Uranus leaving Aries and then Chiron and Aries taking over. There is nothing more wounding to Chiron and Aries than being passed over, than not being seen or appreciated for the individual that you are. Okay. And especially for those of you who have done so much radical independence work over the last several years with Uranus being in Aries. Now, if you don't feel the reward for all that work you did, it might make you second guess everything about yourself and what you've been doing all these years, all right, to achieve that radical empowerment. But the gift of Uranus in Aries was that you were able to forge ahead and courageously show the strange parts of you without apologizing. Show your own weirdo-ness. Just reveal that. Okay, but remember, now with Chiron, there's some pain that you have to address attached to that self-individuation process that we all have to address. Now, I also want to mention that Uranus is going to go into Taurus. And what I think the connection here is that Uranus leaves Aries, and we recognize that we are radically empowered. We are complete individuals. And now, what do we do with it? Because Uranus in Taurus is saying you have to create something tangible with the badass individual that you decided you were all these past several years. Okay. And so I'm reading some of your comments now, and Rhonda's relating, definitely second guessing myself and recognizing your broken parts. So I'm glad that this is ringing true to you. This is going to last for a while. It's just beginning, really, this journey, this amazing journey. And Catherine's asking me if I moved yet, and you're building a house. Nice. Okay, I haven't moved yet, but I am actually closing on my house next week. And now here's a good Uranus story for you. So when Uranus went into Aries in full force in March of 2011, that is when my divorce was finalized. The day Uranus moved into Aries. And I had a 4 year long divorce battle, very, very difficult, legal wise, and emotional, and everything else. And the day Uranus went into Aries, we were in court, and the judge was so sick and tired of dealing with our fighting and our divorce nonsense. He literally said, "Neither one of you are allowed to leave my courtroom today until you sign your divorce agreement." He wouldn't let us leave. He literally held us hostage. He was so sick of it. And so Uranus went into Aries, and I immediately felt free, right? I was free from the shackles of this very bad marriage and divorce situation. I was free. Uranus and Aries, literally. And the last 8 years of my life have been about building my sense of self and independence unapologetically by building my career as an astrologer. Uranus rules astrology. And so I have done that. Check, right? But now Uranus is going to go into Taurus, and I'm a Taurus. So next week, when Uranus goes into Taurus, I'm closing on my house. Isn't that a funny full circle Uranus story? Because Taurus now is about the tangible assets. It's about what are you doing with all that Uranus and Aries spark that you had all these years, all your Uranus and Aries mojo. So what I'm doing with my Uranus and Aries mojo is I'm saying, okay, this is what I have to show for it now. I'm buying a house. And I'm buying a house because I had the courage to be an independent, self-sufficient woman. It's a very literal translation for me. Okay. So you apply that to your life because I share these stories so that you can, bring all this planetary stuff down to reality and see that it does reflect in our lives. And it will reflect in your life because now Uranus going into Taurus is saying to you, great, congratulations. You're independent. You've shown radical individuality and courage. What are you going to do with it? That's what Taurus is about. What do you have to show for it? Show me what that all translates to. So you're going to have that lesson. But you're going to have that lesson under the umbrella of Chiron being in Aries. So you're going to get pulled back emotionally and you're going to start to second guess a lot about your identity. And I want you all to remember that when that part of you gets triggered, when you start to feel ashamed about yourself, about being who you are, that's Chiron talking. That's Chiron and Aries triggering and reminding you that you have to show up despite that, and that you have a right, every right, to be who you are. And even those broken parts of you are actually beautiful. That's what makes you unique and special in who you are. You just have to have that shame lead to healing. Don't become paralyzed under that shame. Okay, so now here's my wound, literally. Chiron's in Aries. I'm about to buy this house. And I'm like, holy shit, what did I get myself into? Can I really do this? Do I really have what it takes to support a house by myself? Am I crazy? I can't do this. I'm not good enough. I'm not strong enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not powerful enough. So it's like in one fell swoop, all of the Uranus and Aries work I did is being triggered by Chiron and Aries. Do you see how this is working? Okay. Apply that to your life and to your life story, and you'll achieve the balance. So Aries rising, Lisa, you you can definitely relate to some of what I'm saying then. Okay, Rhonda, you're seeing the application in your own life. Good. That's what I want. That's the whole goal of this today. So now I want to share with you a little bit about how to kind of work with Chiron energy in the healthiest, best way. And I got this from uh, a website. I wish I knew the astrologer's name, and I'm so sorry that I don't. But the source is astrobutterfly.net. It is going to drive me crazy. I don't know who this woman is, but she's a phenomenal astrologer. I love reading her work. I love following her. And she talks in one of her blogs about the three Chiron archetypes. Everybody who has heard of Chiron has heard of the wounded healer, the wounded healer. That's the association of Chiron. But that's actually the first expression of Chiron. That's the unevolved expression of Chiron. There are three. You're going to go from the wounded healer to the shaman to the alchemist. That's the journey of Chiron in in the most illuminative expression, where you're using your Chiron constructively. And so I want you guys to understand this so that you can use Chiron and Aries constructively. And, right now I'm in the wounded healer mode of my Chiron, right? I'm like, all right, I'll heal everybody else, but I don't think I have what it takes to do this. Who do I think I am? Blah, 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 blah. Okay, right? That's the wounded healer. So she talks about with the wounded healer, Astral Butterfly. I'm so sorry, whoever you are. Please tell me who you are. You cannot heal yourself unless you know where it hurts first. The first stage of healing is acknowledging the wound. The wounded healer is the dormant, unconscious expression of Chiron. So you have to identify your wound before you could even try to heal it. That's what the wounded healer archetype is all about. So right now, it's time to identify your wound in Aries, your personal self wound. For some of you, it's a physical thing. Some people with Chiron and Aries have a real uh, insecurity about their physical appearance. And again, for others, it's about the courage to show who you really are, to stop apologizing for who you really are. So these are themes. Now, the second Chiron archetype, the one that you want to get to next in your evolution of Chiron healing, is the shaman. And this is the intermediate expression of Chiron. And this is when we embrace and heal our wounds. All the struggles we humans go through happen because we fail to integrate the broken parts inside of us. Think about the big decisions in your life, the failures, and the missed opportunities. There was one part of you who wanted something, and another part that wanted something else. Then there are parts of you which you love and accept, and then there are other parts of you that you hate and you're ashamed of. But unless you learn to bring all of these parts together, you cannot become whole and you cannot reach your potential. So you want to recognize your wounds ASAP during this Chiron and Aries journey so that you can get to the shaman stage. The shaman stage is going to take a long time. That's when you are absolutely recognizing that, all right, this is broken in me, this is broken in me, this is wounded. Let's get them all together and stop disowning them or being ashamed of these qualities and using them to heal myself and other people. Okay. So now the third Chiron archetype is the alchemist. Now, this is the highest expression of Chiron possible. In this form, Chiron has transcended its limitations and he has healed his wound and transformed it into a gift that can be used to help and heal others. It becomes beautiful. Those wounds become your strength. Remember, Aries is about strength. It's the warrior. Chiron in Aries is literally the wounded warrior and the warrior of who you are. You have to really fight that fight now. And so I hope that this made sense. And again, I don't know if anybody knows astrobutterfly.com.net. I think it's .net. Her name, because I want to give her credit. That's literally straight from her blog, and she taught me something. Because all I ever have read before that about Chiron is the wounded healer, the wounded healer. And you can never heal your wounds, and you have to be wounded and then still heal others. And so it's almost like we've been taught that you have no choice but to accept this wound and this pain and live with it. But here, this woman talks about actually, no, you can transcend it. It takes a lot of work and a lot of dealing with your shame and your insecurities and your personal issues and the broken parts of you. But there is a transcendence possible. And I agree with her. I agree with that. And so tell me a little bit about how this is relating to you. I know like a lot of your comments here are about um, various astrological questions, and I can't answer those. Let's stay on topic. Tell me how what I'm talking about now, Uranus leaving Aries, going into Taurus, and Chiron being in Aries, how does that ring a bell for you? Because I want this to be a helpful, meaningful conversation. I remember, early on, I was afraid to reveal that I was an astrologer publicly, in my own neighborhood for years. I remember when my kids were little, I didn't tell any of the mothers what I did for a living. I was trying to hide it. Chiron and Aries conjunct my ascendant opposite Uranus. I was just trying to disown my uniqueness, my weirdness for a long time and, project that onto other people. And I had to learn that lesson. And once I did, I was rewarded for that internally because I recognized, wait a second, why am I being ashamed of the weirdness of me? That's what makes me beautiful. And that took a lot for me to see, a lot for me to see. That which is unusual about me is what makes me worthy, what makes me unique and good and whole. This is Chiron and Aries connecting to Uranus. So you guys are awesome. Okay, Rhonda, thank you for sharing that. So this is really hitting you in your professional world. Yes, good. I'm glad that you're learning what's meaningful to you as a person. And, sharing. So here's another thing. Okay. Reckless personal sharing, where you're just impulsively asserting who you are and blurting it. There are consequences to that, which you'll see when Uranus leaves Aries and goes into Taurus. But Chiron in Aries is saying sharing from a place of authenticity, of I know I have these issues and these problems, and I am actively working on myself. And so that is what makes me qualified to help you with this. That's a Chiron and Aries theme. What I'm thinking of specifically is I have a friend who is recovering alcoholic, and she just recently posted a lot on her Facebook about her chips and her like what she's going through, and the courage, and she's in the metaphysical industry, the courage that it takes to put yourself out there and say, I am flawed, I am not perfect, I have this part of myself that I am ashamed of, and I'm working on every day to transcend, and it's a struggle. It is hard work, but I'm committed to being the warrior for myself and fight that fight so that I can be true to myself and who I know I really am. That's probably one of the best examples I could give you of Chiron and Aries. So anybody who was born with Chiron and Aries, and I'm forgetting the years, but I was born in 1974, so it's got to be, geez, I want to say late 60s to 77, maybe. I could be wrong. Google it. Anyway, you're going to go through a Chiron return. We all go through our Chiron return at the age of 50. So if you're going to be 50 years old between now and 2027, April of 2027, that means you've got Chiron and Aries. Okay. And the Chiron return, it magnifies all of what I'm talking about here. And it really brings a huge crisis and healing lesson to being the self, to being the self. Okay. So I think that's everything that I want to say. Let me see. I got my notes here. Chiron and Aries, though, is more gentle than Uranus and Aries. And you guys can see that, right? Uranus and Aries was not gentle. There was nothing peaceful or quiet or gentle at all about Uranus and Aries. It was boom, energy for individuality and identity. But Chiron and Aries is a much quieter, gentler energy. So that's another big difference. And you've got to be responsible now about who you are with Chiron and Aries. Because if you're not, you're probably going to have an issue to deal with. And if you misused Uranus and Aries, you may have a harder time with Chiron and Aries because it's your comeuppance now. You're going to say, oh, all right, this is the price I have to pay for being so impulsive. Well, Uranus was in Aries. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me live. I appreciate it. And I really do appreciate the likes and the shares and subscribes. That all makes a difference to my channel. And if you want to learn more about what Uranus going into Taurus means, I have on my website, insightfulastrology.com, you can download a teleseminar that I gave where I talk very at length about Uranus and Taurus collectively and what it means for you by sign. And if you have not yet watched, and that's half price, by the way, the Uranus and Taurus teleconference, half price. I think it's like $12.95 or something like that. And if you have not yet watched your March video horoscope, they're on my YouTube channel. Make sure you check them out. I talk about Uranus going into Taurus. I talk about all the other astrology. And thank you all so much for supporting me, my work, my channel. I'm looking forward to doing a lot more work on YouTube. That's one of my Uranus and Taurus resolutions. Okay, so thanks everybody. I love you all so much. Bye.